Well, first of all, I just want to say, hello, my name is Peter Officer. I'm a customer success manager here at Workgrid. I'm joined today by Ron Ryan, our head of product marketing, and together we'd just like to welcome everyone to the first in a series of Workgrid customer community webinars. So during today's webinar, what we'll be doing is taking a deep dive into all of the new features that have been delivered during Q3. We'll provide demonstrations of each new feature, and following the new feature discussion and demonstrations, we'll shift gears, and Rob will then be providing a sneak peek into the roadmap of Workgrid and discuss how Workgrid envisions the future of employee experience. So during today's webinar, as I mentioned, we encourage you to ask questions and engage in the conversation. This really is a unique opportunity to engage not only with Rob and I, but also with your fellow Workgrid community members. Before we jump in, are there any questions off the bat? Great. The topics that we'll be covering during today's webinar, we'll go through workflows and a couple best practices to keep in mind. We'll then discuss some enhancements that we've made to tasks and workflows with the ability to assign tasks to managers. We'll then jump into some enhancements that we've made with Publisher as well, with the ability to save a draft, and also take a look at some of the global language functionality that we've delivered as well. The last feature that we'll be covering today is actually a new micro app that was just delivered yesterday, which is the My Day application. So we'll be covering that as well. And then, as mentioned, we'll be diving right into a roadmap discussion and the future of Workgrid that will be discussed with Rob.
Thanks, Peter. And quick disclaimer here and pause, mainly for the back half of today's session. As we all know, roadmaps are potentially subject to change, shift, and should be intended for information purposes only. Back to you, Peter.
All right. Thanks, Rob. So yeah, we'll jump right into some of the recent updates that we've delivered. And the first of which of the newly released features that I'd like to discuss today is the ability to assign tasks to managers within workflows. So just a little bit of background on workflows. Workflows are created internally within the console and will trigger the automatic creation of a task list based upon certain criteria being met. For instance, organizations may choose to create a workflow for onboarding, wherein anytime a new employee is hired and a new user is added into Workgrid, an onboarding workflow is then triggered and sent to that new employee to help guide them through that new hire through any tasks that need to be completed during their initial onboarding. However, for any task that an individual contributor has to take action on, like bringing in their I-9 verification documents or setting up their laptop or workstation, their manager may have 2 to 3 times the number of tasks that need to be completed on that new hire's behalf. Some examples might include introducing that new employee to their colleagues and the department, organizing an office tour, providing access to a learning environment if you have one, providing all the essential information, including training guides. Really, the list goes on and on. And it's crucial that for processes like these and moments that matter as much as a new hire's first impression of their new organization, that the process is as seamless and smooth as possible. To help ensure that these tasks that need to take place in key moments are not lost in the shuffle, workflow admins can now create a workflow that sends tasks not only to the person who initiates the workflow, like a new hire, but also that person's manager. So let's take a look at how to put this into action. So right here, you should be seeing the Workgrid console that you are all familiar with. So if I jump into workflows, I've gone ahead and created a couple sample workflows for today. I'm a big Office fan. So what I created here was a sample workflow for a new hire's first week on the job. And for this particular workflow, I've set it up so that tasks are not only sent to that new hire, but also that new hire's manager. So you'll see here within the console, I've selected a trigger to be a manual send. However, for a new hire, you might select a different attribute, like a date-based attribute or adding a new user. And for this workflow, I've gone ahead and set up some tasks specifically for that new hire and for the manager. So you'll see here the tasks that I've created for the manager. So I've set my audience to be managers of the users who are Michael Scott. And then for this demo, for the purposes of today, I've set up myself as Michael Scott's manager, lucky me. So you see the task list below: make a reservation for a welcome lunch, organize an office tour, access the learning environment, arrange a meeting with the new employee supervisor. From then, you can also see the tasks that I've assigned to Michael himself. So meet me or meet Peter in his office with your passport for I-9 verification, complete the week 1 training class, and meet his teammates. So within that, you can see then, so this is my instance, or what would be my instance in the demo environment of the toolbar. I now have new task notifications. So if I click in the to know section, I have this handy tool that lets me know exactly where I can go to find these tasks. So I'll go down to my to-dos, and I can see, if I click in here, these are my task lists that were sent to me from that workflow for Michael Scott's first day on the job, or for his first week. And it's great because I can action on these. So as soon as I've made the reservation for lunch, great, taking care of that. Organize the office tour, done. Access the learning environment, I am moving through these at lightning speed. But as you can see, tasks like this are incredibly helpful just to keep everything front of mind for that manager so that nothing gets lost. Again, when a new hire is brought into an organization, you really want to make sure that for moments that matter as much as a new hire coming into the company, that you really get off the ground running and that you really make a great first impression for that employee and nothing gets lost in the shuffle. Are there any questions on that aspect of workflows or the new ability to assign tasks to managers? Great. The next feature I'll be covering today is the new global language functionality. So our customer community is globally, culturally, and linguistically diverse and expands across more than 20 different countries. So to support our global and linguistically diverse community, we're happy to announce that publisher and survey admins are now able to create notifications and surveys in multiple languages, so long as the content author is drafting that notification or survey in that language. Furthermore, to meet our users where they are, we now allow for our end users to self-select their language of preference for their Workgrid toolbar and mobile experience as well. Translations provide inclusivity, flexibility, and clarity for employees, keeping all employees in the know by providing them with notifications in their native language, allowing for a single line of communication, no matter where employees may reside around the globe. So again, let's take a look at this one in action. So again, taking you back to the home console, and I'll go back, save and go back from workflows. We'll jump right into Publisher. I've gone ahead and created a couple sample publisher notifications for today's demo. So I'll go ahead and clone this one just so we can take a look at how it was set up. So again, this should all look very similar to any publisher admins or content authors. You'll go ahead and select all of your select your audience based on any attribute that you may like. And you can see I've selected two employees, Peter Officer and Peter Francis. Both are myself. So we'll continue on. And here again, we're going to select the notification title for this one, keeping it very simple with just a greeting, hello, Peter. And I'm going to send this notification, just a simple Workgrid demo. You can select the priority as well if you want to keep it informational, if you want to call out that it's important or critical, and then you select your date and end date as well. This is where it gets interesting. So now you have the ability to create the notification, not only in English, which is the default language. So I can go ahead and craft my publisher notification here. I'll select the title, hello, Peter. I'll put in some summary text, hello, Peter. And I'll select my category. I can then scroll down to notification detail and add in any supporting details that I'd like to add in for this particular notification. If I want to send out a notification in a different language, I can do so by adding translations up here. When I click on that, I am brought to a drop-down list of all the supported languages that Workgrid currently supports for translations. There are 14. For today's demo, I'm going to go ahead and send the notification in French. And again, keeping it the same. So hello, Peter. And in French, we're going to keep it with bonjour. Category is going to stay the same as announcement. Or I could, if I knew how to say announcement in French, I would have written that in there. For the notification detail, I use my elementary French education to ask how that person is doing. We'll then continue on. On this screen here, you can see both notification cards and how they will look to the end user on the toolbar. So I'm greeted, I have all the information that I've built out from each phase. I know when it's going to be sent, I know who it's going to be sent to, and I can see a preview of what that notification is going to look like. If I wanted to go ahead and publish from here, I would go ahead and publish. But since I've already done this for today's demo, I'll show you what it looks like on the end user's experience. So as you can see, this is the English translation, hello, Peter. But if I wanted to, I'm going to go ahead and go to Peter Francis. So I'm going to go to as you can see, Peter has selected his language of preference to be French, or Pierre, I should say, perhaps. And he did that by going down to the Settings tab and choosing the language here. And as you can see, they're all the same supported languages, so that end user can really customize their experience on the toolbar by selecting that language. And as you can see, that to know notification that came through in French. And if I click into it, I can see that they're asking me how I'm doing. So this is just a great opportunity to, again, meet end users where they are and allow them to receive notifications in their language of choice. The one thing that I do want to mention that I mentioned before is in order for a notification to for an end user that perhaps had selected French or any of the other supported languages, for them to receive that notification in their language, the content author would have had to craft that notification in that language. Again, by just selecting over here. The one reason why, one question that we get or that we've gotten so far is why not use an auto translator? And the reason for this being is we want to make sure that the content that's being delivered is actually concise to the point and what the notification is actually intended to say. Oftentimes when you use a tool like a Google Translate or an automatic translator tool, as you may know if you've used such a tool, if you input your message or your content in English and then auto translate, a lot of the context and differentiations that would come often get jumbled, and the message is then relaying a different message than what was the original intent. Are there any questions on this new global language functionality and how to send publisher or survey notifications in that supported language? Great. Find my notes here. All right, so we'll then move on. Another new feature for Publisher and Survey that has been recently released is the ability for content authors to save a draft of a survey or publisher notification. We had received feedback that Publisher and Survey authors would often need to gather more information for a notification or would not be able to complete a notification at one time. So the need to save a draft and come back to it at a later time was needed. So having taken that into consideration, we now allow each step during the creation of a publisher notification or a survey to now be saved along the way. Notifications and surveys will now save automatically when the author advances to the next screen. They'll also save if the author selects to save a draft, as I'll demonstrate later. And if the author selects save a draft, it will prompt the author and ask if they want to save the draft or try to otherwise close a notification as well while it's being created. So really the impact to admins is the flow to create a publisher or survey notification has only changed slightly to save a draft for the notification. All the required fields don't need to be filled in to save a draft, but will need to be filled in to advance to the next screen. The notification will not need to be completed at one time, and the author can gather other information or save and come back to the notification as needed. This is especially helpful when adding global language, where the notifications may become large or may have multiple people contributing to the text. Really, there's so many different reasons that a content author may want to save and come back to it later, right? If they're working and they get pulled away to a meeting, or if they're just, maybe they need a bathroom break, or they need a cup of coffee to, give them that extra pep for that notification. But there's really just so many different reasons why we have elected to move forward with this new feature. So again, I'll go ahead and demonstrate exactly how you can do this if you are a publisher survey admin. So again, coming back to publisher, if I wanted to create a new notification, so again, I'll go ahead and select my audience. Right there, having automatically moved, I've already saved my audience. So if I wanted to go grab a cup of coffee, I don't have to worry that the audience, or that I would have to go and input a new audience for this notification. But I want to go ahead and test save a draft. Select Workgrid demo. This is purely informational. I'm going to start today and end tomorrow. And I can continue. And once I did continue, again, it automatically saved. So I can go ahead and continue on with my notification. This is a test announcement. I want to add any extra detail to this, I can. And again, down at the bottom of the screen, now you'll see the new save a draft option. So I can either save a draft here or continue on. Either way, I will automatically save. But for the purposes of today's demo, I'm just going to go ahead and save the draft. And you can see here that my draft has been saved. So now I can toggle back to my publish notification screen, and I can see that this draft of a publish notification had been saved. The same is going to be the true for surveys as well. If I wanted to create a survey, go ahead and do so. Continue on. I'm going to go ahead and select to capture responses anonymously. I'm going to send the survey out today, and I'm going to end it tomorrow. I'll continue on. And let's say, gosh, I really need a cup of coffee, so I'm going to save a draft, or maybe I just needed extra information. I couldn't remember what the survey I was supposed to send was. I need to check with the person on whose behalf I'm sending the survey. I'm going to save that draft. I'll go back to surveys. After my cup of coffee, I can jump right back in by editing. Again, everything is saved. I have my audience. I can continue on. Everything still looks great. And I can continue on with my survey. Any questions on the save a draft functionality? All right. The last new feature that I'd like to go over today is, again, a new feature that was just recently released just yesterday. And this is the ability, or the new micro app called My Day. So Workgrid users can now see their day at a glance within Workgrid, powered by the new My Day app. Within the console, admins can install this app, which will proactively send users daily to know notifications with their Microsoft 0365 Outlook meetings and appointments for that day. Workgrid users will now have an ability to see their calendars in a brand new way. And from the start, they'll have the information on how many meetings they have scheduled for that day, when the first meeting is starting. And this will be helpful for just planning the day and really giving them access or information all in one place without having to navigate to different solutions or checking their Outlook calendar or going to check their Teams or whatever application they might be using. They can all see all this information in that to know notification within the toolbar or within Workgrid. The Workgrid My Day app notifies users of their Outlook calendar events at the beginning of their day at 6 a.m. local time. If no time zone is set for that user in Workgrid, the notification time will default to coordinated universal time. The events are sent to smart notifications, as I mentioned, and they'll provide detailed information of the events from Outlook. The new app will aggregate Outlook meetings from the user's profile and creates a notification for the user for meetings and provides a better view of the day. The end user is going to receive notifications daily, and even on days when no events are planned, they'll also receive a notification just letting them know, hey, you have nothing planned for today. Go ahead and get everything done that you need to outside of all your meetings. And at the end of the calendar day, the notification is automatically deleted. Once the app is installed by the admin, the end user cannot opt out at that time. And again, it's automatically pulled by the email that is attached to the user's profile. So as long as that is the email is a Microsoft O365 email within the user's profile, they will have this capability once it's installed by their admin. Some other benefits to customers, it's just really a proactive view of the day's meetings and appointments for that end user. It tells them when their first meeting starts. It gives them a summary of all of the meetings that they have for that day. It segments accepted, tentative, and no response meetings, and then having all meetings and notification at one place for all time. So again, I'll go ahead and demo this for you as well. I need to get that. And I need to log out of this user and go back into So this is where you'll get all that information that I just outlined as well. So you again, you'll receive it as a to-know notification, and you can see within my day. This is my calendar for today. As you can see, I've gone ahead and just loaded in some sample meetings that I might have or any user might have on a day-to-day basis. I can go ahead and elect to join the meeting right from here. I can see kind of what my day is like at a glance, what I have to expect for that day, and it'll show me the status of which of all the meetings. So as you can see, I've not responded to any of these meetings with any or accepted as tentative or declined. But if I had, that information would be displayed right here. It gives you the status. So again, this is just a really great way for employees to get their day at a glance. It simplifies their toggling between spaces and just allows them a really great way to see everything they have planned for a particular day. One thing, again, I just want to call out is it will reset every day at 6 a.m. local time. And the previous day, it will not roll over. So all of the previous day's meetings will then wipe out, and it only gives you the information specific to that day. So it really, there's no clutter. Is there any questions on that? I can show you how to install that as well. So if I went into apps and search for my day, you can see here, it's a catalog app, and it has been installed. Any questions? All right. Well, with that then, at this point, I'd like to go ahead and kick things over to Rob, who's going to give us all a glimpse into the future of employee experience and how Workgrid envisions that.
Excellent. Thanks, Peter. Hi, folks. This is Rob Ryan, Head of Product Marketing and Business Value for Workgrid. Before we discuss our vision direction, we probably should discuss a bit of why we do what we do, and really you'll see how this is informed within our roadmap. Next slide. In Workgrid, we believe that the greatest asset a company possesses is ultimately its people. For many workers today, far too much time is spent in the wrong place for the wrong reasons, and we help smooth the wrinkles out of the working day, reducing frustration, friction, which can ultimately help to improve the work and lives of all employees. Now, over the last few years, employee experience has been an incredibly hot topic, first starting in 2019, but really catalyzed over the last 2 years, of course, in light of COVID. And we can expect this to continue into the upcoming year. The world continues to change, and we continue to be kept on our toes. New policies, mandates, impactful changes. There's the question of hybrid work, remote work, etc. And with that rapid flow of new information impacting us personally, as well as professionally, this has impacts on the digital workplace. And of course, the downstream effect to the employee experience, becoming that much more difficult to manage, leading to added confusion and frustration. Next slide. But organizations that are able to transcend that chaos are those that look at employee experience and are willing to invest in their people, their processes, their culture. They understand that to be resilient, must be willing to change and pivot at a moment's notice, keeping your evergreen qualities and values intact. So to that, the organizations that will succeed are those that will remain aligned wherever employees are working. They'll instill trust and focus on the health and well-being of, again, their most important asset, their people. And they know full well that this enhances the buy-in, the productivity, and optimization of both work, technology, and innovation. Next slide. And we've begun to evolve as well as an organization with a new vision and direction that really returns us back to our roots, focusing on enhancing the workday and the technical landscape. Next slide. We all know the statistics. Knowledge workers have 5+ major enterprise applications open at any given time. They may switch well over 1,100 times per day, spend half that day hunting for information, access, applications. It's painful. We believe that there's a better way. Workgrid is a digital workplace assistant that extends and optimizes your everyday interactions by connecting you to the information, people, actions, and systems at the right moment, wherever you happen to be. Next slide. As we start to think about this problem anew, we think in terms of wrangling the chaos of the digital workplace. And it's not just the hundreds of apps that you may have within your tech stack, but also all the utility-driven content, information, news, tasks that you're seeking, trying to find or gain access to. Our vision is to help accelerate that optimization of those lightweight experiences with integrations that deliver the right notifications, signals, actions, wherever you happen to be, in an intelligent, personalized manner. Will work where you work. Next slide. And so for the second half of 2021, and a peek into 2022, we're going to share two major developments in focus areas for us that are currently underway. The first being Workgrid Workshop, our no-code solution to help organizations quickly deliver Workgrid apps and use cases efficiently, quickly. And Workgrid from Microsoft Teams, opening up a new channel in which to deliver Workgrid applications. We won't touch on it today, but we aren't, of course, just focused on these two major features. Naturally, given our technology heritage sprouting from Liberty Mutual, security, compliance, infrastructure, resiliency, these are areas in which we never shortchange. Next slide. Let's get into Workgrid Workshop. First, how it came about and why. Next slide. There's been a tremendous amount of research and studies on what crushes business and digital transformation efforts, and why application overload has diminished productivity, focus, and business value returns. Next slide. A lot of this comes down to reliance on archaic processes, siloed applications, and there's a good reason for that. Leadership and decision makers oftentimes lack an understanding of what's even potentially possible when it comes to integrations, connections, and creating utility-driven experiences that help employees. In fact, 71% of business leads believe that data silos are far too difficult to access. So organizations that are often looking to really evolve, you can think of it as almost like the development of city streets. That desired path becomes a cow path, becomes a paved road, and really renovations take place to reassess that there could be a better way of doing things. Next slide. Yet to transform, really to meet that opportunity to enhance and change the way organizations work, there's going to be an internal side to this development to really accelerate growth and applications. In fact, Gartner has claimed 70% of enterprise apps will be developed internally by 2025, with 80% of those being developed by business stakeholders, less so IT. So to this, some organizations are taking those necessary steps already to understand the pain points, challenges of their employees throughout their experience in their day, and beginning to look at ways to really rapidly innovate and deploy internal applications that enhance the workday as a whole. Next slide. And so to this, we'd like to introduce Workgrid Workshop, a means to accelerate delivery of new digital experiences, all within Workgrid. Workgrid Workshop is a codeless assembly engine baked into the Workgrid console, providing you the ability to extend and optimize your technical landscape, delivering new low-code business applications across multiple channels. This takes integration development time down from what would oftentimes be weeks to days, even hours, and eventually minutes for some of our future state templated catalogs apps. Now, while a pitch is worth 1,000 words, it may be best to actually showcase a demo in action here. Next slide. Let's actually watch the creation of a ServiceNow app within Workgrid Workshop. User starts from a blueprint template connected to ServiceNow. They'll give it a name, provide some details. And with our codeless assembly, they'll begin to drag and drop within the user interface, quickly building the app connector that they desire. Within the canvas, they can try, they can test it out. Then we'll begin to see the results. There's no errors, fantastic. And then live, we can start to see the actual app itself, approving those notifications. Next slide. And so for our release plan that we have, and we'll be running a beta for our customers to opt into early Q4, and that's for one-way smart notifications, intelligent nudges within your key channels. And as we move into Q4 2021 and early Q1 2022, we're going to be able to offer two-way smart notifications, allowing for actions, transactions, user inputs. And then early 2022, as we move to general availability, we're going to add access to an additional 100 plus enterprise applications with enhanced capabilities, and of course, a number of catalog apps as well, baked within to Workgrid Workshop. And here's just a sampling of some of those enterprise applications. Okay, let's get into our next big release for Q4 2021, Workgrid for Microsoft Teams. Next slide. Now, today I discussed how our vision is to really build a better working day for all employees. And there's a dirty little secret among SaaS application vendors as a whole. It's much like social media apps. They don't necessarily care about the user. They care about your time, your attention, effectively a Dao Mao. And this leads to attention wars amongst applications. You can see that, play itself out. You add on top of this app confusion, duplicated functionality, a lack of, internal tech stack rationalization. It's no wonder no one knows where to go to for what. Next slide. But that trend has been accelerated and complicated, particularly as of late. Employees are certainly spending less time on some of those official channels and historical channels like intranets as a whole, and their time has been pulled away from other applications, particularly with new working models. And it's being particularly soaked up by Microsoft Teams for collaboration, being the tool of choice. So for that, as employees are moving that time and attention away for asynchronous and synchronous communications, they're potentially losing out on signals, notifications, and informations that could be happening elsewhere. And to that, Workgrid for Microsoft Teams is designed to help surface your notification signals and actions where you're actively collaborating. This allows business leads to ensure their important messages, announcements, information, they're not going to be missed. It allows you to take action, make decisions right within Teams itself. And minimize that context switching that happens to all of us throughout the day. We're the connective tissue within the digital workplace. Now, those smart notifications, those actions, be surfaced within Teams itself. Let's take a look at some screenshots, and we'll actually go through a little video demo here. Starting first in early Q4 2021, one-way smart notifications users will be quickly able to see, publish posts, content, etc., see news, read more. Next slide. We can see here another expanded post here from Kevin Sheedy, informational announcement. So again, creating that alignment to the news, alerts, etc. As we move into Q1 2022, potentially the end of Q4 2021, two-way smart notifications will be available. So really being able to take action within your smart notifications. So perhaps those are procurement requests, approvals, timesheet, etc. So much more that can be played out here. Next slide. With a click, in this example, we can quickly review this summary description. So we have Oracle procurement. Mike's created a new procurement request, MacBook Pro. Perhaps you've already had this discussion with him, and a one-to-one that he'll be ended up submitting this request. There's hundreds of use cases that can play itself out here, but the value is not having to constantly app hop. You're already within Teams. You can make that decision. Perhaps you're still within your intranet, and it's within your Workgrid toolbar. Action can happen there as well. We're working where you work. I think the next slide actually brings us into a demo here, Peter. Yeah, so let's watch. Here we are within Teams. We receive a notification in Teams that a new Workgrid notification is populated. Clicking on that card or even clicking on the icon would bring us to the Workgrid personalized app that you see on the toolbar. We see Mike has created a new procurement request. You can approve directly here. We see that it's been approved. And just to note, the icon off to the left of the Workgrid app, that can be personalized to your logo, your name, something that has more closer affinity to your digital workplace. Next slide. And just a quick timeline here for Workgrid from Microsoft Teams. So one-way smart notifications will be released in Q4 2021. That's, of course, going to be part of our beta, beta 0.7, two-way smart notifications as well. Looking early Q1 2022 and formal general release to mid Q1 2022, where the full Workgrid chatbot will be embedded for actions within Microsoft Teams. And we saved the best for last here, our roadmap highlights. And this is certainly not comprehensive to all the things that we'll be doing over the next few quarters. But as we look ahead, what you'll see is that We're continuing to lean into the story of evoking smart notifications, actions, integrations from across your third-party apps, really focused on utility-rich use cases. We'll continue to build out quick apps within our catalog based on Workshop, and providing our customer those quick wins and integrations that are ready to go. We'll be enhancing on Q4 2021 our analytics, as well as our app catalog for better search, filtering, etc. But I'll draw your attention to, more importantly, where we're headed directionally, because it's in spirit of really our vision direction. We're taking strong stance to begin researching several avenues on where we expand our integration offering and capabilities, but also on rich moments and actions that can play themselves out within Workgrid as a whole, particularly within Workshop, but also channels. So directionally, looking at potential headless integration to, again, further extend smart notifications, actions, accessibility to Workgrid to other applications. We'll also be looking at potentially a browser plugin to ensure that regardless of wherever your workers are, guess what? We're there with them so that they can receive the right notification at the right time. We'll also be looking at no-code micro apps, as well as potentially iPad support. So all directional, certainly not placed with any time boxes right now, but you can effectively see the spirit of where Workgrid is headed. All right, and with that, certainly take any questions that folks have, or.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rob, for that. Yeah, we do want to open it up for any discussion, questions on anything that was covered today during the webinar. I'd love to hear some feedback as well. And just as a quick reminder, this will be, this has been recorded and will be shared on the Help Center as well. So for anyone that would like to review the information that was covered here, they will be able to access that as well. So with that, just want to go ahead and say thanks again to everybody that was able to join today. It was really great to have you all here. And we look forward, as mentioned before, this is the first in a series as we'll be moving forward with another webinar that we'll be covering on Q4 as well. So thanks to everyone that joined. We really appreciate it. And we hope that, that you're as excited about all these new features and where we're headed as we are. So thanks so much, everyone. And we'll hope to see everyone soon.
Thanks, folks.